Broadcasting from the Business RadioX studios, it's time for Workplace MVP. Workplace MVP is brought to you by R3 Continuum, a global leader in workplace behavioral health and security solutions. Now, here's your host, Jamie Gassman.
Hi, everyone. Your host, Jamie Gassman here, and welcome to this edition of Workplace MVP. Today, we have a wonderful MVP to celebrate. We have with us Patrick Lynch, the Vice President of Global Operations for Careerminds, and he's also the current President of SHRM-Atlanta. For anyone listening not familiar with SHRM, that is the Society of Human Relations Management. Welcome to the show, Patrick, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jamie.
Let's start off, though, with you telling me a little bit about yourself and the career journey that you've had.
Oh, boy. Well, how many hours do we have? No. My name's Patrick Lynch. I'm the Vice President of Global Operations for a company called Careerminds. We are a global outplacement provider that helps organizations across the world with managing their employees when they have to do workforce reductions. So in the case of a company that has a layoff, they will assign their employees to my firm, and then we have consultants help them find new employment, new opportunities as quickly as possible. My specific role is I manage all of the global consultants around the world. So basically anything outside of the U.S. is what I do. And so when our client companies have needs that for employees in whatever continent it will be, my job is to get those people connected with the right consultants and then get them reemployed as quickly as possible.
Great. And you're also involved in a number of various nonprofit organizations, along with the role that you hold at SHRM-Atlanta. Can you share with us about some of the additional work that you do in your free time?
Yeah. I just have an affinity to just give back and be part of something else. SHRM-Atlanta has been a wonderful opportunity in terms of being in the volunteer leadership for over 10 years. And we'll talk more about SHRM in a moment. And I'm just very fortunate right now to be the president for 2021 in this unique pandemic year that we're going through. I'm also the chairman of the board of a nonprofit called Special Pops Tennis. Special Pops Tennis is a tennis program for the adaptive needs community. We're the largest adaptive needs tennis program in the United States, and we just connect the sport of tennis with adaptive needs of young adults that want a chance to get out, play a sport that's fun, connect with their friends, and just live life, play tennis, and make friends. It's just we're not a training academy. We're really more about just connecting the adaptive needs community with the mainstream community to get everybody to kind of get to know each other better. And then I don't know, it's just like I'm other things that just kind of really get me interested is I've been a basketball coach for Special Olympics for a number of years. And unfortunately with Special Olympics, they've been shut down now for well over a year. So we haven't been able to get together. And then I guess because, there's a spot on the calendar, I decided that I wanted to get involved in my local city government. And I live in Duluth, Georgia, and I'm on the zoning commission. So we get to hear all kinds of different zoning requests. And it just is nice to get plugged in with local government, learn more about how your city is run. And I'd encourage anyone that has the time to do that, to become part of it, because your respect for government and what services they provide will just grow astronomically when you just see all the talented people that are running your city government and doing all kinds of things for its citizens.
Wow. Sounds like a great mix of different organizations to be involved and great advice on the local government. That's fascinating. So with SHRM-Atlanta last month, you had a conference.
Yes.
So what were some of the common themes? Obviously, I'm sure being an HR conference, there were probably a lot of common themes that were popping out at that conference over the last year. What were some of the main things that you were discussing and educating HR leaders on at that conference?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jamie, one of the first things wasn't necessarily related to content, but it was really interesting in that, the whole world, everything's been done virtually. And, we had, and SHRM had one of the biggest components of SHRM is community, and being HR people being able to connect with their peers and just share best practices, network, grow professionally. And it just becomes a bit of a challenge when you do this all virtually. And what we noticed was that attendance at our events, our chapter meetings that turned to virtual meetings, it was in a soft decline from the middle of last year to first quarter of this year. Well, we ran the Real HR, which is the name of our symposium in late March. And we kept it, we kind of were real conservative in terms of how many people that we expected to see. And it ended up being 200% higher than what we had planned. And it told us that people just really want to connect. And it's just one that this pandemic induced virtual world that we're in is just it becomes just something that where you need to be able to just interact and connect with people. And we have a great virtual platform that we use so that people can participate in real time. And one thing I noticed was that, and it's different than going to a live meeting where you're in an audience listening to people. Here, you'll see a presenter and they'll be presenting, but then along the right side, there'll be a chat window where people are just, writing comments and asking questions. And what we've seen is the level of engagement has substantially increased as a result. And so we had a lot of really engaging presentations and content. Big things that were there. One is legal. I mean, there's just with, do you require vaccinations? Do you, how do you safely bring people to work? How, all these things that are legal in terms. Our membership is just always looking for answers because it's moving very fast. Obviously, we have a new administration that's come in, and there's been a lot of new changes that they have implemented and plan to implement. So what does that mean for HR and their decision makers? There's also everything that's kind of the fast-moving societal change. So how you have so many things, the murder of George Floyd, racial injustice, income inequality, just the Me Too movement. How does that impact the workplace, and as an HR leader, how do you manage all of that? So that was another interesting theme and content that came up. Last one is I'll call it, and we'll talk a little more about this, but culture. And what we've seen is everybody's working virtually, and coming out of the pandemic, there's that element of work from home, work anywhere you want. That is going to stay with us. And that, in a way, is very liberating. It's great. But now how do you maintain a culture and maintain engagement when you don't have everybody under one roof and you can rally everybody together? And you have now this separation, and that's on a lot of HR decision makers' minds in terms of just how we're going to kind of keep this all together when you have people that are working who knows where.
Yeah. And who knows what time if they're not on an hourly clock, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, being in global operations, I'm talking to people all the time in all kinds of time zones. So if I look tired, there's a reason.
Yeah. Well, and it's so I gotta imagine with some of those different, areas that you mentioned with the DE and diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as like cultural, like how do you keep that culture of your work environment? From your perspective with all of those, what impact does that have on that current climate with your HR leaders?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. Like with societal change, I can kind of address that. After with the pandemic, George Floyd, there was a number of other unfortunate situations that came after that. It just seemed like it was real that you can't just separate the outside world from the workplace. It was all starting to come together. We saw that at SHRM-Atlanta, and we started creating conversations where people could get. We have a member connect online community that we just started organizing group chats where people could safely talk and just kind of try and gain an understanding and just better better connect and just find some answers, some solace, just things that will just help them get through this. One of the things that came out of that was that we created a group called HR for Change, and this committee now is commissioned to help us as a chapter, as an organization, be proactive and be connected in terms of when there's societal changes that are going on, that we are going to not just wait and react. We will have a point of view, and we will be able to move on these. And we'll also it'll always be there as a forum for our membership to come and be able to speak out. And just really, really fortunate that we, one of the leaders in Atlanta, Dr. Ayanna Cummings, is agreed to come on and be the chair for HR for Change. And her, along with Jackie Choice, who's our business development director, have kind of co-partnered in terms of making this thing happen. And it's just wonderful in terms of the things that they're doing in terms of being able to get out and talk about this, because Jamie, it's just this is going to be a major trend that's going to impact the world of work now and well into the future. I mean, I just read a blog over the weekend that the CEO for it's a project management software called Basecamp wrote a message to all of his employees just saying, I'd like everyone to stop commenting on anything political using company email. I want all employee communication to just be business. And all of a sudden, 40% of his employees quit, and it's like, well, I didn't quite expect that outcome. And the point was that that they have something on their mind. They want to be able to speak. That yes, you can't let it derail operations. You can't let it stop the company in terms of what it's trying to do for its business goals. But nevertheless, this is something that is not easily compartmentalized, and you just put it in a box outside the office door and then come in. And And so that's where you just see HR for Change is going to be something that I just really feel is going to be important, and it's going to be something to give people that opportunity to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, obviously the one thing we know that's a guarantee is change. So I think that's a great concept that you've established there. And looking at, change and other, obviously concerns that have come, into that HR leaders face on a daily. What are some of the more common challenges or the current challenges that HR leaders are trying to overcome right now?
A big one is what a return to work is going to look like. So, the pandemic was just more or less mandated everyone work virtually, and unless it was something that the nature of your job was essential and you needed to be in. But for professional people in offices, that all of a sudden now everybody was virtual, and then there's from call it March of last year to where we are today, there's been a slow return. But with that return, there's a lot of complexity, because now how do you go and create a safe workspace? How do you ask or mandate that all employees who return be vaccinated? Do you need to now retrofit your office space to have things become safer? So you have like dividers, spacing, just all these, just all it's cost, complexity in terms of just what you need to make a safe workspace. And then you just start to really, the one thing COVID did is it accelerated trends, and distributed work was a trend that was taking place. It was just slowly, but then all of a sudden it took a 5-year trend and it happened upon us in 1 month. And now, what you're looking at is just how do you really need all the office space that you require? And so what do you do? I just read IHG, which is a wonderful company here in Metro Atlanta. They have like 200,000 plus square feet over in great space in Ravinia over by the perimeter area. And now they're reevaluating just how much of that space do we really need upon the return, and they'll go and look at potentially subletting some of that space with the eventual goal that it goes away. So now all of a sudden you have these organizations with smaller footprints and more distributed people. And then now you look at a distributed workforce. I mentioned as far as how do you maintain as far as culture and engagement and making sure that people feel connected, because any of us who've been doing all of our work for the past 12 months over a Zoom meeting screen realize that, there's it only goes to a certain level of connection talking to people over a computer screen. And so what do you do to make people really start to feel connected and belong? And and then you start looking at some of the things that come out of that, Jamie, like now when you recruit and do talent, do you need to be geographically bound? I mean, if you have an open HR manager role, can that person be in Tennessee or Austin, Texas, or and do their job effectively? I mean, do you really start to rethink where your employees need to be? And on the flip side, I'm just thinking in the future how career pathing and advancement is going to take place if people are all distributed, because the facts are that a lot of advancement comes with not just skills, but the relationships you build. And, those relationships are so much easier when you're in a centralized workspace. You interact with people, you have hallway conversations, you're in a conference room and you're standing up and presenting, and people get to know you and what you are. And now all of a sudden everybody's off and the only interactions through a computer. Will that slow career, as far as career growth for people? I don't know. It's going to be interesting in terms of where all this heads. So it's some fascinating stuff ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I feel it myself and interacting with coworkers, and it's all by Zoom. I think you have to readjust that when you get into the workplace, that it's almost like your whole work environment is shifting a second time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on that same vein and looking at challenges, what are some of the advantages that HR leaders have right now? Because I always look at what is the optimistic side of it? Some of the things that are good that HR leaders have that maybe they didn't before.
Well, we did talk one as far as that kind of the distributed workforce does open up talent pools in terms of now you don't have to necessarily think that everybody has to live within your geography, commute to the office in order to attract new talent. That is going to be just a big opportunity. I think also it's a big opportunity in terms of looking at the upskilling, reskilling, new skilling of their employees, and really start to bring back the whole talent development part of work, because the demands of every workplace, I've heard the saying, and it really does ring true, that every job in a way is a tech job now. And my daughter, she's a box office manager for a theater company. But, the first thing that they will look at is her ability to use the software that they use for ticketing and patron management and everything. And so it's, in some ways a tech job. And that's what the world of work is very much becoming. And so with that, HR is going to be looking at, okay, how can we make sure that that we have the skills that we need? Because Jamie, it breaks my heart when you always hear about all these unopened or these unfilled jobs that, and they just can't find the right people. And yet then, my company will see people that are made redundant and are laid off. And so, somewhere, is there a way to connect those two dots and find these new streams where people can get redeveloped, reskilled, and be able to be ready for the demands of the new world.
Like a way to channel those transferable skills. They might have been in one industry, but what have they established as an employee that could be utilized in maybe a different industry? Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look at my career, prior to being in the HR and outplacement space, I was in a career in marketing, and it was basically I'll call it consumer products marketing, and then within that I look at I started out in food products, but then moved to health and beauty aids, then moved to office products, and the one common theme was that these all were products that a consumer had a need for. So whether it was a soap, a lotion, a carbonated bath tablet, that's a story unto itself. But steel safes, office paper, office furniture. There was always that common theme, and there was that transferability that I once you built a marketing skill stack, I could then come into a new situation and apply it. And that goes with everybody in the workplace, that, you go and start thinking about this skill stack that you are building, and be very aware of it. I had a chance, gosh, this goes back now almost 2 years ago, to do a presentation for the Rising Leader group at SHRM-Atlanta. And these are all people under 35 and under, so their careers are just more or less starting. And they asked me to talk about that, about building a skill stack. And some of it's deliberate, some of it isn't, but all of a sudden you look and you say, okay, I got a degree in history as an undergrad, and you think, well, that didn't really help me in business. Well, it taught you to write, taught you to research. and Jamie, you can see where this is going. You start to think, okay, here's this skill on top of this skill on top of this skill now gives me the value that I can come into your organization and help you with fill in the blank.
Yeah, absolutely. So that gets me to my next question, which is looking at your career and,
right.
And looking at over the course of your career, has there been like a situation or a challenge that you faced either in your marketing role or an HR role that prepared you for navigating this last year or navigating what's to come? Like, just that gave you some really good experience that, you could share as kind of an example to HR leaders of how you've grown and been able to utilize maybe some of that learning.
Yeah. It's, my career path, is one that, I mentioned I had a career in consumer products marketing, but then I had, like, in a 2-year period, situation where my job at one company was eliminated. I moved to a second company. I'm there 2 years, and then they want me to relocate and I just couldn't. So I ended up exiting, and then I went through a pivot and thought, okay, where do I really want to go? And is this a time for me to do something different? And that's how I entered the HR space and the outplacement space. And that's 10 years now that I've been in it. In what I've had while here is that, I've just learned that, that as far as the adaptability and being able to just shift so that you always have a strategy. So, that you keep that you're moving ahead with a plan, but you don't just stop and ignore what's going on around you just so you can stick to your strategy. And great quote from Mike Tyson, the world philosopher, that everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. And so I think that's, what a lot of us saw in the past 12 months in terms of, okay, what did happen? And my heart goes out to all the people who are in industries that were impacted due to no fault of their own. And I mentioned my daughter; she's in theater. Well, live theater ended, and that was a really hard on her, all her coworkers, and it was, and they're just now climbing back. But it's okay now. It's not like what events happen to you. It's what you do when, as a result of what the events have, as a result of the events. And so that's where everybody has to be looking and thinking about new ways to just kind of reinvent themselves, or, try and, okay, maybe this is the change I needed to go and try something different. I mean, there's been a whole host of great, inspiring stories that I've seen from people, and outplacement participants, clients that have reached out to me just, over the years in terms of things they've done. They really changed and made a profound impact on their lives. So I think if we're looking at a theme on this one, Jamie, it's change. I think that that's probably just know that it's there, embrace it, and do the best you can with it.
Yeah, great advice. So real quick, we're going to have a word from our show sponsor. So Workplace MVP is sponsored by R3 Continuum. Ensuring the psychological and physical safety of your organization and your people is not only normal, but a necessity in today's ever-changing and often unpredictable world. R3 Continuum can help you do that and more with their continuum of behavioral health, crisis, and security solutions tailored to meet the unique challenges of your organization. Learn more at www.r3c.com. So just a few more questions for you, Patrick. So there's something that you're involved with at SHRM-Atlanta that I've been told you're quite proud of. Something that you've done within your term as president there. I'm wondering if you might be able to share with us what that is.
Can you give me is it
something of it must have been like some type of a program or something that you started or work that you guys have done at SHRM-Atlanta?
Well, and I think spoiler alert, I think we already talked that as far as the HR for Change, which is great. I think the other one that, that I really, and, we talked HR for Change pretty thoroughly, but the other one, Jamie, that I have been very proud of was creation of a program called Shift, which is start having intentionality for transforming your career. So it's just, but what the Shift did was that it was a one-day event, and it was the first time where SHRM-Atlanta collaborated with NAAA HR Atlanta, which is the National Association of African Americans in HR. So our two groups, jointly put on this event, and so there was just the ability to just all of us to get to know each other, build relationships, and we built an event that was basically for people that were in HR that were in transition, looking for new careers, looking to make as far as like an advancement in their career, or were new to Atlanta. So that, we had a one-day event, just content all built around, just career transformation, career development. And 2 years running, it was a sellout. I think probably the biggest thing wasn't necessarily the sellout, but it was the relationships that we were able, between SHRM-Atlanta and NAAA HR Atlanta, that those relationships that were developed and continue to this day was just something that I that really will stay with me forever. And it's like one of those things where it was a lot of hard work, but every time I would always look forward to it. It would be like a 5-month intensive to get us to the finish line, but I had a smile every day, and I think it was the people and the relationships, and knowing that we were really helping a lot of people in our community. So, yeah, that would be the thing that along with HR for Change, right, which is kind of now the present day, that I'm most happy with in terms of leaving any kind of legacy for SHRM-Atlanta.
Wonderful. And I know SHRM at a national level has different programs that they've been launching as well. I think I heard about like a Paragon Labs or, so can you share a little bit about that, about some of the other maybe programs that, whether it be SHRM-Atlanta or SHRM National have in place?
Yeah, sure. SHRM-Net, and one thing is that SHRM National is 300,000 members, and it's a strong lobbyer. It's a strong and effective lobbyer in Washington, D.C. for all things around the workplace. And it's just, it's got just a ton of smart people and innovative programs. And they've been very supportive of SHRM-Atlanta. We are one of the chapters then of SHRM National, and so SHRM-Atlanta is one of the top 6 chapters across the country, and we all roll up to national. You mentioned Paragon Labs, which was a really interesting initiative that SHRM National has done, where they basically are creating a startup incubator for HR tech companies. And they're looking specifically for HR tech companies that will make the workplace better. So not necessarily, the slickest software, but what if it's going to have a positive impact in terms of how to, make workplaces more diverse, just more engaged, just to, create, something that where people are going to be more productive. And so there's and so what Paragon Labs did this year was they had a Shark Tank kind of event where they had startups in all these various major metro areas come and present their ideas, and then a small panel of judges would rate them, and the top 3 move on to a second round, which ultimately is going to lead to a group of finalists that are going to go to SHRM National in September at the SHRM National Las Vegas conference, and we'll have final judges. I got a chance to sit as being one of the Atlanta judges, and Jamie, it's just so impressive, meeting these and they're startups, they're just people, they have an idea, they got a passion, they're running with it, they have to come and make a pitch, and I think I was more of the Paula than the Simon, in terms of trying to be encouraging to them. And I was just so, I've been impressed. And Paragon Labs, it's run by a really smart guy, Guillermo Coria, and he's finished all the, I can't tell you how many different contests that they've had across the country, but now they're in the process of moving people in the next round. And I really look forward to seeing the finalists in Las Vegas in September.
Oh, that sounds amazing. What a great way to use kind of a concept that's out there, but putting it into, a business context and using it as a way to have a little fun with rewarding people who have those great ideas. That's great. So, and I know you mentioned SHRM National, Las Vegas in September. What other events and resources or tools are available to members or even non-members of SHRM?
Well, for us, please go to SHRM-Atlanta.org and just that's our the website for my chapter, and you'll find in the events tab all kinds of events that we have coming up. We're doing our first live in person event in June at the Atlanta Zoo, so it'll be outside, and so we'll be able to talk HR, be a little Dr. Doolittle and talk HR amongst the animals. We're going to also have a August in-person event at the aquarium, and so that'll be our chance to start to get back to normalcy and meeting, which is kind of one of our strengths. Our annual meeting is in September. It's the 21st to the 23rd. And so that's a great multi-day event that we'll have at the Cobb Galleria. And then, just if you check out our site, there's just a lot of really great opportunities and reasons to become a member. I mentioned it, rising leaders, anybody that's 35 and under that wants to accelerate their network and meet a lot of smart people that are rising in the profession. Here's a chance with this group to meet on a monthly basis and learn and grow. We have an accomplished leader exchange where senior HR leaders for companies we have two groups, one from companies that have 250 to 1,000 employees. They all get together and have peer-to-peer networking, best practice sharing, ability to really learn from others and that share similar experiences to your own. And then we have an accomplished leader exchange for HR leaders with companies over 1,000, because that's now you're getting into the enterprise level firms, and they just have different needs and challenges, and they get a chance also to interact and benefit from that peer-to-peer connection. We just wrapped up a great program on mentoring, where as part of our members, we connect senior HR leaders with people that are rising their career, mid-career, and just want to connect with somebody to get mentoring advice, whatever it is, kind of a lot of it's around career advancement, and so we created a cohort where we basically do it's kind of like speed dating. So it's not on your phone and you have to swipe right or anything like that to meet somebody. We make it real easy and connect people. And that's just been just a great member benefit. And all the things here are all built around that community, building your network, and really just getting smarter in the areas of HR. And you see, my voice goes up a half octave when I'm talking about it, because it's just a lot of great things we have going on.
Wonderful. Sounds like it. And what a great way to be involved in a community of people that are fellow leaders like yourself and enjoying kind of the same line of work and learning off of each other. Mm-hmm. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you or connect with you, how would they be able to go about doing that?
Well, my email is plynch, PLYNCH at careerminds.com. And just email me. You can always find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. I love making new connections. And I mentioned, as far as any information around SHRM-Atlanta, that's SHRM-Atlanta.org. And Careerminds, we're at careerminds.com. And I encourage anyone to reach out to me, and we'll talk about anything.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for letting us celebrate you today, Patrick. It was great hearing your stories and getting your advice that we can share with our listeners. And we appreciate you. And I'm sure your organizations and employees do as well. And we also want to thank our show sponsor, R3 Continuum, for supporting the Workplace MVP podcast. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you've not already done so, make sure to subscribe so you get our most recent episodes and other resources. You also can follow our show on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter at Workplace MVP. And if you are a Workplace MVP or know someone who is, we want to know. Email us at info@workplace-mvp.com. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.